Ukraine, a land of rich history, deep cultural roots, and a long struggle for independence. A nation that has endured centuries of foreign rule, revolutions, and wars to finally emerge as a sovereign state. But how did Ukraine gain its independence from the Soviet Union? And under what promises was it recognized as a free nation? To understand Ukraine's path to independence, we must look back over 1,000 years. Ukraine's origins trace back to Kyivan Rus, a powerful medieval state that thrived between the 9th and 13th centuries. However, after Mongol invasions, the region fell under the control of various empires, including Poland, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and eventually the Russian Empire. In the wake of the Russian Revolution of 1917, Ukraine declared independence. The Ukrainian People's Republic was short-lived, as the Soviet Union annexed Ukraine in 1922. For decades, Ukraine remained under Soviet rule, suffering through events like the Holodomor, Stalin's man-made famine that killed millions in the 1930s. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was weakening. Economic struggles, political reforms, and growing nationalist movements across its republics led to increasing calls for independence. In Ukraine, the Chernobyl disaster of 1986 further fueled distrust towards Moscow. Then, in August 1991, following a failed coup in Moscow, Ukraine declared its independence. On December 1, 1991, over 90% of Ukrainians voted in favor of independence in a national referendum. It was a clear message to the world: Ukraine wanted to be free. Soon after, Ukraine was recognized by the international community. In 1994, Ukraine signed the Budapest Memorandum, a crucial agreement in which Ukraine gave up its massive Soviet-era nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances from Russia, the United States, and the United Kingdom. These nations pledged to respect Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. At the same time, tensions were rising between NATO and post-Soviet Russia. In the early 1990s, Western leaders, including US officials, made verbal assurances to Soviet and Russian leaders that NATO would not expand eastward towards Russian borders. However, in the following years, NATO did expand, incorporating former Eastern Bloc countries. This expansion later became a major point of contention in regional geopolitics. However, history took a darker turn. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, violating the very promises made in the Budapest Memorandum. This was followed by conflict in eastern Ukraine, leading to ongoing struggles for sovereignty and security. The issue of NATO expansion remained a major point of tension between Russia and the West. Many analysts argue that Russia saw NATO's continued growth as a direct threat to its security. In 2022, this long-standing friction culminated in a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. While Ukraine had not yet joined NATO, Russia cited the possibility of its future membership as one of the key justifications for its military actions. This ongoing war has further deepened geopolitical divisions and left Ukraine fighting for both its sovereignty and survival. Despite the challenges, Ukraine remains resilient, a country with a rich heritage and a strong will to remain independent. The story of Ukraine's independence is still being written, and its people continue to fight for the future they deserve.